Good morning. I would like to welcome everybody to the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency Board Meeting at BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's October the 28th at 10:35. We'll go ahead with roll call. Gary Henry's here. Dan Hetzenrader here. Megan Sheffield Smith. Amy Harding
Here.
John Healy here. Kevin Muldowney
Here.
Ed Whitman
Here.
Tom Harmon
Here.
Dan DeMart.
Here.
I've taken a few minutes and read through the minutes from the September 23rd meeting. And I see it completely went off the rails, talking about mountain lions, MMA. And that's when I realized I wasn't at the meeting, but I am mentioned a few times as passing a few going into executive session. So I will make an approval to approve the September 23rd minutes, but due to the mountain lion stuff, make sure my name is switched. And it's Dan Hetzenrader who actually was making those motions. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, with those adjustments, the minutes have been approved. Next, we'll move right into new business A, public meeting, video conferencing policy, presented by Harris Beach and Mark.
Yep. Elizabeth, do you want to talk about it first and then I do the public hearing, or do you want to do the public hearing? Or want me to do?
I can talk about it. I can
Okay.
talk about it first, then we can open up the public hearing just so we
Okay.
have some context for it. So good
Yep.
morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, agency staff. We are here today to present the video conferencing policy for the agency's adoption. So this policy, permitted by the Public Officers Law, permits board members to participate via video conferencing in board meetings in the event of an extraordinary circumstance, such as a disability, illness, or if the member has a caregiving responsibility for one or more dependents or a family member, or a permanent disability. One caveat with this policy I will note is although the board member may participate via video conference, they cannot be counted for quorum purposes unless they have what is considered a permanent disability under the executive law. That being said, if there is a quorum in the room physically present, board members participating remotely may still vote as they wish. Procedurally, board members, if you have one of these extraordinary circumstances come up, we will just ask that there is a form attached as Exhibit A to the policy that is completed as soon as you know you will be unable to attend a meeting. Submit it to Mark. And yeah, that about covers it. Is there any questions? So we do have to have a public hearing. I will note, as Mark flagged, that is one of the requirements of the law. So immediately after this brief overview, we will open up a public hearing. If there are any members of the public in the room that wish to give comments, we will hear them, and then the board may consider adoption of the policy. This policy is being proposed for not just the IDA, but also the CRC and the CREDC. So there will be a motion in each meeting to adopt a joint resolution adopting the policy. So it would be applicable to all three entities and the subcommittees of each entity. So I'll now open it up to the board if there are any questions or comments or concerns.
No questions.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. This public hearing is in reference to section 103-A of the Public Officers Law regarding video conferencing. This is a joint public hearing being held on October 28th, 2025 at the offices of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation, and the Chautauqua County Capital Resources Corporation, located at BWB Building, second floor, boardroom, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York, 14701. And as Elizabeth stated, this policy or this public hearing is for all three entities. And again, we will approve a resolution at all three meetings. So, welcome. This public hearing is now open. It is 10:38 a.m. My name is Mark Geis. I'm the CEO of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation, and the Chautauqua County Capital Resources Corporation, collectively the CRC, collectively with the CCIDA and CREDC. referred to as the agency. I've been designated by the agency, the hearing officer, to conduct this public hearing. This public hearing is being live streamed and made accessible on the agency website. We are here to hold the public hearing on section 103A of the Public Officers Law regarding adoption of a video conferencing policy by the agency. The transcript of this hearing will be reviewed and considered by the agency in determination of this policy. Notice of this hearing appeared in both the Jamestown Post-Journal and the Dunkirk Observer on October 16th, 2025, and was posted to the agency's website along with the proposed video conferencing policy. The agency shall review and consider proposed written procedures governing member and public attendance consistent with section 103-A of the Public Officers Law, which in relevant part permits public bodies such as the agency to authorize their members to attend meetings by video conference from locations that are not open to the public, private locations, when necessitated by extraordinary circumstances or a disability. All those in attendance outside of the agency, staff, and board members are required to register by signing the sign-in sheet at the front of the room. You will not be permitted to speak unless you have registered. One who is registered, given an opportunity to make statements and/or comments on the proposal. The agency will broadcast the public hearing live on the agency's website. The agency accepted written comments responsive to the proposed video conferencing policy up until yesterday, October 27th, 2025, and the agency received no comments. If anyone is interested in making a statement or comment, please raise your hand, state your name and address. If you are representing a company, please identify the company. I request that speakers keep statements and/or comments to, if possible, 3 minutes. Any statements? No statements. No one in, no, okay, I'm making a note that there is no one in attendance that wishes to make a comment. As there are no further statements and/or comments, the hearing officer, I am now closing the public hearing at 10:41. Good enough?
Perfect.
I mean, it wasn't
You
perfect.
did great, Matt.
It wasn't written perfect.
Oh,
It was perfect. So now that the public hearing has closed, the board may move to approve the resolution adopting the policy for the IDA.
Thank you. Dan Hetzenrader, can you move new business A2 for us?
Yes, I'll move resolution 10-28-25-01 of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation, and Chautauqua County Capital Resource Corporation, approving the use of video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances pursuant to section 103A of the New York Public Officers Law and adopting a policy in connection therewith.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I can second it, Gary.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Don Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman. Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously passed.
Elizabeth, you can probably drop off. I'm thinking, I don't think there's going to be any questions in the other two meetings.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, it's good to see everyone.
Okay,
Thank you so much for.
Appreciate it. Before we move into new business B, the county executive, PJ Wendell, is here with us. Is there anything you'd like to say this morning?
No, just really quick. I know recently we had a meeting with Buffalo Business First. Had a great conversation with them. And really, they're excited about what we're doing here in Chautauqua County. They gave us our book of lists. And many of our industries, businesses, services, foundations rank in their top 20, 25, or actually, I think the lowest they found was in the top 30. So when you look at what's going, and the comments they kept making is, you're doing something right here. So I really was excited about that. They're all over Western New York, and they don't mince words. They're, a very solid publication, very well respected. So the fact that, they're excited about what they see, contrary to naysayers, things are happening, at least in their eyes and in their vision. So we're excited about that. And it was a great conversation. So again, it's a tribute to everybody here in this board that, the work we're doing is it's well received, and it was exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next, we'll move into new business B, Tri-County Holding Corporation presented by Rose.
Mr. Chairman, back in April, the Loan Review Committee and the board was presented with a loan request from Tri-County Holdings Corporation. In April, the Loan Review Committee recommended for approval and the board approved that request. The reason it's coming back today is there's been an amendment to their change. But before I go over the changes from the original request, new request, I would just like to do a background again on Tri-County Holdings. So Tri-County Holding Corporation was founded in 1924. This recreation facility features 18 holes with multiple tee lengths to accommodate visitors of all ages and skill levels. In addition, there is a pro shop and a clubhouse with a restaurant on site. 46% of Tri-County's business comes from area residents, while the other 54% comes from out of the county or state. In addition to daily operations, Tri-County holds numerous charity events throughout the year, and the clubhouse can be rented out for special occasions and events. In the fall of 2023, Tri-County, the clubhouse was destroyed by a fire, and due to the loss, membership totals declined, resulting in loss of revenue. Tri-County was able to maintain 200 plus members in the 2024 season, but the clubhouse is a critical component to the business operations success of Tri-County. Tri-County is in the process of securing or has secured funding approval from other private lenders, of course, contingent upon the IDA's participation to complete the necessary renovations so that the clubhouse can reopen, events can be held, and food and beverage services can restart. Tri-County is still requesting $250,000 from the IDA in order to pay down their private lenders at a future date with loan funds when loan funds become available. So again, back in April, Tri-County requested the amount of $250,000, which would be used for real estate financing to pay down a commercial lender. They would be retaining 35 jobs, creating 10. The loan request itself was at 4% over 20 years with principal and interest payments made monthly. At the time, a commercial lender was going to come in at 565. The IDA would participate at 250. And then we have owner equity at 60,000 for a total project cost of 875,000. The original and continuing request on collateral is a subordinate lien position on the mortgage up to 675,000, a subordinate lien position on all accounts receivable, fixtures, furnishings, machinery, equipment, inventory, and assets of the company, while still requesting to waive key man life insurance and any personal guarantees. So again, the original request was to pay down a commercial lender. The new request is to pay down a private lender. And I will say that the original request had us in second position, and this new request puts us in third position.
I would only add to that, apart from the loan, the board has previously approved a pilot and sales tax, which we are in the process of closing. So there's two sort of sides to this. This amendment doesn't affect the pilot, et cetera, because that was not dependent on what the main priority was.
Thank you, Belen.
Any questions from the board? Okay, Amy, can you move new business B1 for us?
Amending resolution 1028-25-02 of the members of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency to approve amendments to an all-tech loan, EDA CARES Act fund, or CRLF loan to Tri-County Holding Corporation.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ed Whitman.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan DeMart.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into new business C, SL Portland Community LLC and SL Portland Community 2 LLC, presented by Rosie and Millen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So back in May of 2002, the board did final approval resolutions on these two projects. The reason it's coming back is there's been a slight change in the parcels that are included in the project. We wanted to inform the public. We had a public hearing yesterday. There were comments. The transcripts are included in your binders if you'd like to review those. As usual, I was not able to answer those questions during the public hearing, but they were addressed post-public hearing. So again, I will provide a quick overview of the project before I have Millen go over the resolutions that are being presented. No change in the incentives that are being offered, but this is a total 7.25 megawatt AC solar farm, 3.5 for one, 3.75 for the other. A total acreage of 29.35 located in the town of Portland off Route 20 in Portland, New York. There are numerous parcels included in this project, which are in the application. Total project cost amongst the two is $12,429,038. It is a 25-year pilot, which is of course a deviation from our standard UTEP. They are only requesting mortgage recording tax abatement. I'm sorry, no mortgage recording tax abatement. They're requesting sales tax abatement and property tax. The pilot will produce payments to the affected taxing jurisdiction over the life of the project in the amount of $843.38. Tax exemption totals just over $660,000 with sales tax abatement just over 500. I'm sorry, at 575. And again, this was originally approved back in 2022. Public hearing was done yesterday. So I will go ahead and pass it on to Millen to review the resolution. Unless there's any questions, I do have Matt Effler from Catalyze on Zoom who can provide any updates to the project. Oh, and I do want to just reconfirm the town is still very much in support of this project.
I would only add that this is fairly common for solar projects, for the actual contours of where the actual panels are going to sit often shifts by a few feet here and there. In this case, there was one added lot and one added address, and we thought that that was material enough that in the Mark decided that in the interest of full disclosure, we would redo the public hearing and the approvals and everything else. Even though the project is exactly the same place, same everything, it just has added one parcel that's a hair closer to a residence. So we wanted to go through the process again. So with that, we are going to do the deviation hearing, because again, this is the same deviation hearing that we held before. Notice of this hearing was sent on October 14th to each of the affected tax jurisdictions, none of whom have responded in writing. So I will open up the public hearing to any members of any representatives of any affected tax jurisdictions who would like to speak for or against the project. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and we can move on to the resolutions. And again, there's two projects, Portland 1 and Portland 2, and in each one there is a deviation resolution. Again, it's still the same $3,500 per megawatt. It's now sort of coming to be almost a standard for our pilots for solar, and then the final approving resolution. And again, they are the same that you previously approved, but with a slightly different description as to where it's going to sit.
Any questions from the board? Were you able to answer the questions that came up during the?
Yes,
Okay,
I was able to address those post-public hearing, yes.
Right. And I think if you look at the questions, they seem to be not against the project.
Yeah.
That one person said, I'm for the project. They more wanted to understand how the process works. Like, you know, how the billing is going to work and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't negative to the project. It was just asking about pilots in general.
Correct, yes.
thank you. John, would you move new business C2 for us?
Yes, resolution 10-28-25-03, Portland deviation approval. Resolution 10-28-25-04, Portland approved resolution. Resolution 10-28-25-05, SL Portland deviation approval. Resolution 10-28-25-06, SL Portland 2 approval.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ed Whitman.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into the executive director's update.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you a brief update on the shovel-ready sites, both Ripley, 150 acres, and Mason, about 40 acres of developable land. They're all basically on schedule. With Ripley, it's been complicated by a couple of things. Number one is the multitude of funding sources, which makes it really difficult because they're all, different reporting requirements for each. We did have the EDA grant that we submitted twice. That's actually our contact for the EDA was furloughed. So we're sort of like not holding our breath on that, but we're still crossing our fingers. That's over 3 million. So what we're doing is we're actually going to bid out the project in two different forms, sort of A and B, right? Options. One is if we get, assume that we get all that, we're assuming in A that we're getting all of the funding. And then we're also bidding it out in a form that we're not getting that extra 3 million. So that we, cover our bases. The marketing is kicking off. We're going to start marketing the site, coming soon kind of thing. We're working with Hannah Realty, who's been very good to us over the years, and with Jason and others, Investment for Niagara, to really get that marketing campaign kicked off on both sites. That Ripley, just to refresh your memory, that's we're extending the electric 1.5 miles, 34.5 kV, and National Grid is got that underway. They're in the process of doing all the engineering. They know the route at this point. They have to get easements from something like 20 different property owners. So it's pretty in depth, but again, that's well underway, and we're on schedule. What else? We had to do a NEPA review for that site, and Nate, you jump in whenever I'm incorrect here. We had to do a NEPA review for that. NEPA is the federal level seeker, right? Because we're getting ARC money, which is federal money. So we had to do a whole NEPA review, and that was pretty complicated. But that's approved or close to approval.
We're in the middle of we have to provide legal notice, and we're in a 15 public comment period right now. Yeah, should be wrapped up in the coming weeks.
Yeah. So that was a big lift. I talked about the grants, and the budget's still looking good. And that's Ripley. Mason, we're in sort of a parallel path with Mason. It's the electric, we're not extending the electric. There's a connection over at Bush, which is not far away at all. And there's about 2 megawatts of power there. So, and BPU assures us that they can get that extended quickly in a few weeks when the time comes that somebody's interested in the site. We did have the Town of Ellery site plan review by the planning board a couple of weeks ago, and they approved the site plan. And again, Mason is just stubbing in a road, water, sewer, and all the environmental review on the site. So that's in a nutshell. There's a lot of other details, but with the limited amount of time we have, that's where I'll leave it. Shelby, did you want to talk a little bit about Blackbaud and Civic Serve? Real quick, Blackbaud is really it's a grants management platform, and Civic Serve is really a project management platform.
Right. And so when we were looking at all the possibilities for a civic serve, a customer relations management, project management. We really wanted to make sure that that whatever we decided on could communicate with a new financial management system, because we knew that, the customer relations, project management, there really isn't anything out there that covers the whole kind of scope, right? So we knew that there were going to be two separate platforms. So when we chose CivicServe, we liked it because there's an open API. So when we began to look at financial kind of management system that could also manage the grants, right? So we wanted it to be kind of where we could track all of the financials in real time against the grants, as along with also kind of managing all of our financials, right? We wanted it to kind of be in the same solution. We have landed on Blackbaud, and we'll put that in front of the board next month for approval. But because of their approval flows that sit in Blackbaud, so when it comes to Mark can quickly see, this is an expense for Ripley. It's going to be utilized on this grant. This grant is reimbursable once we hit 500,000 or whatever it may be. And we're at 480. It'll kind of outline all of that information in his approval so that he has all of that information at his fingertips. It'll also help us, manage cash, right? So, if we're looking at, we have salary coming up next week, and we also have this expense for, a contractor at Ripley for 100,000. We can kind of manage that, and also look at like when we can apply for reimbursement, because we're going to see where we are within contracts and within grants. Did that capture? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, and I probably should have said something to set the context, just that we've been doing it old school forever, right? It's
Yeah.
spreadsheets, it's emails, it's
Yep.
folders, and we need to really clean that up, right? So that
Yeah.
it's gonna be, the lift is gonna be, upfront,
Yeah.
will be heavy, but in the long run, it's gonna help us out tremendously.
Right now, we have so many hands in the pot, right? So we have me, Mark, we have Nate, we have Crystal, we have Kayla, and we don't really have one source of the truth. So this will give us the one source of the truth where it's all in there. It's all, and again, it can communicate back and forth to CivicServe, where we're using CivicServe to, work back and forth with our clients. We can potentially have live loan balances in CivicServe. So if Mark goes to meet with a client and they're looking for, another loan, but he can look up at CivicServe really quickly and see that, they've been on interest only or whatever it may be on an existing loan.
Not to mention, you go to visit somebody and you can look back at the history of when we met with them and who we met with and what they talked about. And then you update that. So one place houses all of this information. So anyway, and they're not overly expensive.
No,
$10,000-$12,000, I want to say each.
Yeah.
18
for implementation. And then year one, so we get through implementation, and then year one, it'll be, I think, is it 15 or? We'll put all that together in November.
We just wanted to give you a heads up that that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
And in today's day and age, paper checks just aren't a thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. It can communicate with our bank. So, it could go to Gary for.
It's automatic, except for us.
I'm getting carpal tunnel. So anyway, any other questions on that? The other thing I wanted to do real quick is have Jason give a little 10,000 foot kind of review of our Live CHQ Work CHQ campaign, because and obviously the reason why we developed that campaign and why we've been pushing it out is Chautauqua County, and they're not alone, has experienced population decline since 1970, and at the same time we have a lot of open jobs in this county. And how do we attract people to want to come here and live here and work here and invest here? And so we're really, I think, doing a bang up job on that. I think maybe it doesn't get enough press out there. But, Jason, do you want to talk about that and then talk about also the viewpoint, Dennis Quaid?
Sure, that ties in with Live CHQ, certainly. I think the majority of the board or most of the board members, if not all of you, are familiar with Live CHQ at this point. We've been talking about it even before we came up with the name Live CHQ. And this is something that's been in the works since 2022 into 2023, of course, launched in 2024. We developed a website. We rebranded our relocation guides to match the Live CHQ branding. And it seems like we're full speed ahead in terms of getting a lot of attraction on our website. I just looked at the numbers this morning. We have 105,000 unique visitors to the website since it launched in April 2024, and less than 10% are from Chautauqua County. So, that informs us that a lot of people are coming to the site, staying there for 30 seconds to a minute, which doesn't seem like a long time, but in internet page visit time, it means that people are at least reviewing the initial content on the landing page, visiting other pages, and seem to want to learn a little bit more about Chautauqua County. Those that see the advertising. Of course, the advertising we do is by and large digital, but we also do a lot of print. We have a billboard out on I-90 right where it intersects with I-79. So that's a key prime spot and a major heavily traveled area where we get the Live CHQ branding out that way. But when it comes to our advertising, I've counted, I think, over 6.5 million impressions we've done digitally. And that's not counting the number of vehicles that have driven by a billboard, for example, and have seen that or have seen an ad in the local newspaper or the regional newspapers. So we're really trying to build the brand and make people aware of Chautauqua County through the Live CHQ campaign. It seems to be working. 155,000 views on Live CHQ alone, 105,000 unique visitors, again, 90% of which are coming from outside of Chautauqua County. So that's very exciting. I think the one thing we're focusing on as we continue through the middle stages of the campaign, obviously we launched it in 2024, so it's now over a year old. We're trying to still get buy-in from stakeholders within Chautauqua County, largely employers. If you're an employer in Chautauqua County and you try to recruit from somebody who doesn't live in Chautauqua County, maybe you're the hospital and you're trying to recruit a top physician to fill a need at the hospital, something along those lines. It's one thing to inform a job prospect about your workplace, but as we all know, people want to know, well, okay, it sounds like a great job, but why would I want to live in your community? Live CHQ is really the selling point to convince people that Chautauqua County is a great place for them to move to and live in, besides applying for your job. So we're really doing the outreach with employers, large and small, professional employers, even manufacturers, and trying to get them to leverage Live CHQ when it comes to the recruitment efforts. We actually have 2 luncheons planned in the next 2 weeks. We have one tomorrow at Cornell Cooperative Extension, where we'll have employers, both nonprofit and for-profit employers coming to the table with us and joining us. And Monica Simpson and I will be giving details about Live CHQ and really sharing with them the resources that they can use when it comes to marketing Chautauqua County, when it comes to posting their jobs that are available. And then we have another one next week at the Southern Chautauqua Federal Credit Union in Lakewood on Mall Boulevard. They're both at noon. They're both luncheons, and there's still room. So if anybody here has somebody on your team, or if you want to attend yourself on the board, you're welcome to attend. Just reach out to myself or Monica. We'd be happy to have you there. But again, it's really a walkthrough about how you can utilize Live CHQ. I attended a realtor forum at the start of this month at the Harbor Hotel, and the realtors are really excited about this too, because oftentimes somebody will move to Chautauqua County and say, well, I just got a job up in Dunkirk, but I know nothing about living here. They can give them a relocation guide. They can give them a card that has the Live CHQ QR code on it. And then the new resident can go and learn about living in Chautauqua County themselves. So it's really a great effort. It's really informative. And the people I've talked to who are not from Chautauqua County love Live CHQ because it kind of tells the story about why they moved here. And they seem to be really excited. I go out to the conference that I went to for the realtors, or if we're just doing a simple public presentation that we did at the Pet Expo that the Humane Society held. I couldn't believe the number of people who came up to me who weren't from Chautauqua County and said, we love living here. We're so happy that you have Live CHQ because we want to tell our friends about what a great place it is to live. And we're really trying to get people who are stakeholders in the community to leverage Live CHQ as well. So that's really the focus. Next year, looking at the budget, we'll continue to do the digital advertising. We will continue to try to market Chautauqua County, obviously outside of the area. But for what we're focused on is really trying to make sure that our employers know about Live CHQ and use it when they're trying to attract the top candidate and convince them to live here. Viewpoints isn't a great example of marketing Chautauqua County on a national level for the next year. We signed a contract with Viewpoint at the end of 2023. Viewpoint with Dennis Quaid. It's a public television series that they distribute to 170 different television stations around the country. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long, which doesn't seem like a long time, but for that short period of time, it really informs the viewer on a particular topic, in this case, Chautauqua County. And not only does it promote Chautauqua County as a great place to live, but also a great place to do business. So we tie in the Choose CHQ campaign along with the Live CHQ campaign. And the Viewpoints video is now on our homepage for both Live CHQ and Choose CHQ. You can find it on our YouTube channel. It's been distributed to 170 public television stations. And they even did an email campaign for us where they sent out to 1 million different email subscribers, a newsletter that we created where we can inform people about Chautauqua County, whether they want to set up a business or live here. And that seemed to attract a lot of hits. I think I saw a spike. Typically, we might get about 400 visits a day to Live CHQ, 400 to 500, but there was close to 3,000 on the day that newsletter went out, which tells us that people did see the newsletter. They did click on it. Obviously, it'd be great to have 1 million people. But as we all know, not everybody, when they get a email in, they're going to automatically click on it and read it. But it was exciting to see a drive up in traffic on the website due to that. And that was earlier this month. So we'll continue to reach out to people outside of the county with our marketing and also people within the county with our meetings and our sessions, because we really want to get everyone to see the value in this and utilize it for their own needs, especially for employers. So it's moving right along and we'll continue to do so.
Just want to thank the legislature, the county executive for the funding that we get from the county that supports that. And very grateful, and we'll continue to put all that money into it.
Yeah, I mean, just when the campaign launched and we brought in Black Club to help us develop it, obviously a lot of the funding came from ARPA, which was public money, but we also had foundation money, and a lot of our funding comes from foundations for marketing it from the launch. But we are using some of that public money as well from what the county provides for us. And that's essential to continue to tell the story of Chautauqua County, whether it be through Choose or Live. So it's been really helpful in getting this campaign off the ground and keeping it moving.
Doing a great job, Jason. And others. I think that's it for me.
Thank you. We'll move into the treasurer's report.
All right. So I will start with September year to date, which is actually the second packet in the finance section. Get there. At the top, it should say from 1/25 through 9/30/25. All right, so from a year-to-date perspective, we're sitting pretty comfortably. Excess of revenue over expense, the very bottom line is a total of 471. A lot of that, I would say, is timing. I will say that we are nearing year end, so we are going to have some entries that are going to knock that down. In particular, the bad debt reserve. So we typically get that from our accountants. They run it through a full model, and then we'll book that. That was budgeted at 250,000 this year. I don't expect it to be that high because we haven't really done a lot of notes, or loans. But they'll run it through their model and make adjustments as needed. They also typically do a year-end vacation accrual, because of our change to the employee handbook. That's not going to be as high this year because there's not going to be as much of a rollover. We're going to pay it all out. So that'll typically just come out of that reserve that we've been kind of building up every year. We book it in the correct years that they've been accumulated. So that really won't hit the P&L as hard as it has in prior years. So I don't expect that one to be huge. And then the other one would be the rent expense from ASC 842, which is just kind of accounting principles where they book an entry for the remainder of the rent. So all of those are kind of like, estimates for future liability, essentially, and just kind of capturing it in the year that it's accrued. So that'll come down a little bit. We do have some solar projects that we will likely capture as revenue by December because we've kind of negotiated with them that, you know, if they don't close soon, they're going to get current on their,
Was that 5 or 6?
uh,
Yeah, 5.
yeah, 5 in total, but I think.
December 15th, I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah, yep, yeah. So we'll likely see kind of a little bit of a jump in the admin and application fees. I think for the P and L, so if we want to jump to page 2, which is the balance sheet on the backside of that. Like we've been mentioning, you know, we're in a comfortable cash position. If you offset the cash and the deferred revenue down in the liabilities, that kind of gives you a better picture of where we are from a cash position. If we were looking at just the IDA alone, because the you know, the loan funds, obviously, those are the principal balance that will go back out into the community. So we don't really look at those. But at the IDA alone, we're sitting around 1.5 million. And we're hoping to kind of keep that there as we go into 2026 for cash coverage for Ripley. Because as we kind of alluded to, some of the grants that we are going to receive for that project are going to be reimbursable. So we're basically going to have to pony up the expense at first and then apply for reimbursement. So we want to make sure that we have around $1 million.
Yeah, you know, and we did, if you recall, we did get approval from the legislature to bond with them, which we can use, but we're trying not to use that because we have to pay the interest on that. So as much as we can do that internally, and then we just turn to that when and if we need to.
Yes, yep. And the interest will be an IDA expense. So we won't be able to, obviously, you can't use the grants that would come in for the project to cover that. So again, we're trying to cover, you know, as much as we can from a cash perspective.
And we did get them to break that down into 4 tranches, right?
For the,
The Fast New York Award.
Yeah, the Fast New York, the 5.25.
Mhm.
Or, yeah, as opposed to having to spend all the 5 million and then get reimbursed. So.
I will note, you know, the federal government, believe it or not, has been very quick on their payments for our EPA awards. So we're hopeful those we can submit monthly invoices and get within, you know, 72 hours a wire back. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, for the 3 million or so ARC money.
Hey, is that still the case?
That was
They're shut down?
for the first.
yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So we can talk more about that when we get into the budget. For September, really the only other call out again is the bad debt reserve. That number will change at the end of the year, but that'll come from the accountants. Then the current liabilities, that's primarily that vacation accrual that I spoke about. So that's already been captured. And when we do that payout at the end of this, actually it'll be in January, but the expenses will be accounted for as of 12/31. So that'll diminish going into 2026 because we're basically going to pull from there. And then again, I already talked about the deferred revenue. So I think that that's about it on that page. And then going into the comparison to the year-to-date budget, we're a little bit lower on the application and admin fees. Like I said, we'll have some solar projects that are going to close in December that we did budget for. We were expecting those to be closed by now. So that's a little bit of that timing. I would say most of it comes down to timing, but I will add to, and again, I'll speak to this in the budget. We're going to roll some of this favorability into 2026 because basically it's like kind of projects that we expected to complete or, you know, whatever, and then it just rolls into 2026. And I'll talk to that a little bit more when we get there. The salary, so we are over the salary by 5%, and that is primarily attributed to the allocation that we've been doing. So we allocate the expenses between the IDA and CREDC based on actual time spent, and you'll see a save in the CREDC report once we get there. So I just wanted to call that out so that when you see the CREDC report, you don't panic. And again, just the bad debt reserve. So we budgeted the full year at 250, and that'll be booked in December. If no questions on September year to date, we'll jump into the budget, which is actually the first page. So you'll have to go back.
Ricky.
Okay. Okay, so the top should say CCIDA and credit fund summary, and the date range would be 1/1/26 through 12/31/26. So this tab is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. This is typically the first page of our financials monthly, but we included CREDC and CPEG in this so that we could talk to the full kind of scope. So you'll see that CREDC and CPEG are a loss, planning for a loss next year. But if you offset that with the gain on the loan funds in the IDA, we are actually expecting to be positive about 42,000. So what that means is, the IDA as needed can, provide kind of cash coverage for overhead type of items that we then allocate the actual expense to CREDC and CPEG. So it's kind of like a timing piece, I guess, if you will. Another thing to call out on CREDC and CPEG is we are expecting to fully utilize any grants that are out there. So if there are grants, we have deferred revenue right now that we always speak to, that we have, it's kind of earmarked for expenses. We basically plan to utilize all of that, even though it's not really realistic, but at least we have a plan for all of the grants that are sitting out there. So yeah, to back up on this page, I just wanted to include everything so that you could see that, even though we're in the red, when you look at the full picture, we do have the cash coverage and we're expecting to be a net positive 42,000. I will dive into the CCIDA expenses, but I do want to talk about the North County Industrial, that's the Ripley. This looks like we are rock stars, but that is because we have to recognize the income that is related to all of the construction expenses and the land acquisition. So that would be, and that's why I included that number at the very bottom, that is expected to be around 10.9. And we have to recognize the revenue related to making those cash purchases, or, we have to recognize the cash as the expenses are incurred. Another thing that I will speak to on the North County is that there is some timing. Like I said, we want to kind of keep that 1.5 in the IDA so that, if we have to incur the expenses and then apply for reimbursement, we know that we have that in there. So piece of the puzzle that's the variance between the 8 million and the 10.9 million is because of that timing issue. So that's kind of where we're looking at the $1 million, just to make sure that we have the cash coverage, because, as we apply, we wouldn't necessarily book the revenue until we receive it. So a lot of it boils down to timing, and it's kind of a juggling game there. Any questions on that? Because I just threw a lot at you. Okay. So I will say the revenue for the IDA, we built off of actual projects that we have in the pipeline. So that's why it's not, it's an exact number, 1.5 to 184, because those are actual projects that we have in the pipeline, as far as recognizing the application and admin fees. As far as the interest income, that also is off of our actual loans. You will see that that's a little bit lower than current year, and that's because we are going to have some older loans in our portfolio. So they're paying more on interest than they are paying in the, or they're paying more in principal than they are in the interest. So, and that's a good thing, because then it can go back into the revolving fund and we can loan out more. What else here? I think that that's it on this page. We can jump to the next one so that we can talk about the comparison to the budget, the current year budget. Okay, so like I had mentioned on the grants, we are expecting to recognize all of the income and also all of the expense. So again, just like 2025, some of that may roll into 2027, but just to have the coverage, we want to make sure that we, account for everything that's in the pipeline for 2026. The salary, that was built off of September year-to-date actual allocation. So between the IDA and CREDC and all of the CREDC and CPEG funds, that is based on actual time spent for 2025, assuming that and applying that to 2026. We also applied a year-over-year increase for like fringe benefits at 3%. So all of that is captured as well. That same methodology is used for some of these overhead expenses, like office supplies. We basically looked at September year-to-date and applied a year-over-year increase and then normalized it for 12 months. I think that's all I jotted down. Any questions on budget? Like I had mentioned, the bad debt reserve, I bumped that down to 100,000 because we aren't expecting to do a lot of new notes like we had been in the past. So, you know, if we don't sign new notes, then that bad debt reserve really isn't going to be as high as it has been historically. And also like the September year to date, we kind of rolled that into 2026. So we kind of piggyback off of the favorability in this year and roll that into 2026. So it's, you know, we are looking higher as when you look at the expenses, but it's because we are kind of piggybacking off of that favorability of this year. And then the final page is just a printout. It's all of that information. There are some eliminations. So anytime that the IDA kind of covers expense for Ripley, that expense is captured in the IDA and then the income is captured in Ripley. But when you look at like the parish report here, that's eliminated. So the total at the bottom is going to tie, but there may be some offset between income and expense because those are intercompany just eliminations. But other than that, I just wanted to provide this because this is what you would see in Paris if you were to go and pull it when we put it in there. I think I've talked enough.
Okay, well, thank you very much. There's a lot of information. I think it kind of highlights all the work that the team at the IDA is doing and the importance of having, you know, additional software to keep track of all this. It's impressive, but it's also a daunting task. So we appreciate the hard work. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
And the budget?
Do we need to, I think we have to.
And the
We have to approve the budget? Okay. So we'll start with the budget. Do we have a motion to accept the budget? Thank you, Dan. Do we have a second? Thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. This is on approval of the budget for 2026. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ed Whitman.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
And so the budget is approved. We'll also look at the treasurer's report. Do we have a motion to accept that?
Motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Amy? Okay, again, we'll do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
So both the budget and the treasurer's report have been approved. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ted, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll go into executive session.
Thanks, Ray.
We are back in open session, and I'd like to report there were no actions or votes taken during executive session, and therefore no minutes of the meeting were taken. This is partly old business, partly new business as well. I I would like to bring up the pay schedule for Mark, the CEO. We started this a couple years ago where, as I took on the role of chairman, I started looking around with other IDAs. I realized that the pay scale for the Chautauqua County IDA is considerably less than other comparable size IDAs. And so came up with a plan to get the pay scale up to be similar to others. It'll still be on the low end, actually, but it'll at least be comparable to some of the other ones. And so we did a increase last year. I want to do a second increase this year or suggest it. And then I also put more standard size increases for the next 3 years after that, so that we don't have to review Mark's or whoever happens to be the CEO each year. And so I've got this pay scale that I've passed around. You had a chance to look at it. It'll have an increase for 2026 that would raise his salary to 100,000. And then there'll be a 3.5% increase each year after that for the next 3 years. This is assuming renewal of contract. This really has to do with whoever has the role, which right now it's Mark, and you're doing a great job. But this could be for whoever else happens to have that role, depending on, the situation. So I'll make that motion that we increase the pay schedule to match what I just discussed. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. If I can find the roll call here. There we go. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan DeMart.
Aye.
So the resolution is unanimously approved. I'd just like to point out that Mark, is the head of the IDA, is doing a phenomenal job. I mean,
Thank
it's impressive. And so many of the things we've discussed here, just the complexity of keeping everything organized, and you have a great staff. So I don't want to, it's not just Mark, but certainly as a CEO, you're doing a great job. Certainly want to make sure you're compensated appropriately. And moving forward, not just for yourself, but for others, we have to be competitive with other IDAs because we want Chautauqua County to continue to be leading the pack and not be trailing behind. And so we thought that this was the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, real quick, we've got a rock star staff. I'm not just saying that. I mean, incredible. And, our representation from, of course, legal counsel is amazing. Working with PJ, he's tuned into all this stuff. He gives good direction. Our chairman, I'm really, I feel blessed. I really do. So thank you. Thank you so much.
If I could real quick, I think it needs to be pointed out. You're seeing a lot of a personal issue on the floor of the legislature. Tom has seen it. The IDA is working great. We have somebody that just has an axe to grind with the IDAs, and I'm not sure exactly why, but our IDA, Mark, is top notch. It just seems to be, it's a witch hunt every month as to, as if we're not doing something. But when you sit here and, you talk to Ted from Buffalo Business First and, they want to, do a story on what's happening down here, I guess it puts all the naysayers at rest. But Mark and his team here, you guys are killing it. When you get, a publication that deals with the likes of Buffalo and 8 other counties, and we're leading the pack, I think that says something for it. So congratulations to all of you. This is well-deserved, Mark. But I just want the rest of you, it's unfortunate. You'll see this in the legislature. It's unfortunate, but, we are doing the right job and we're doing the right thing, and I wouldn't change anything.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move.
Thank you, Dan. Do we have a second? Thank you, Dan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. I know a few of you have to step out, but we do have 2 more meetings. We'll try and do as quickly as we possibly can. At this point, I would like to welcome everybody to the Board of Directors meeting for CREDC, the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's October the 28th at 12:18. We'll go ahead and do roll calls. Gary Henry's here. Amy Harding.
Here.
John Healy.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Ted Whitman.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
You should have already received the minutes from the June 24th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those? Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. We'll move right into new business A, the CREDC resolution accepting grant funds presented by Nate.
So actually, Mr. Chairman, since we have Rebecca here, I'll kick this over to her to discuss. But before I do that, I just wanted to recognize again, Rebecca, Emma Cook, Stephanie Nick from the County Planning and Development Department side for initiating this project over the summer. And we got 3 small grants recently, and Rebecca will describe that.
Thank you, Nate. This resolution is for accepting our remaining grant funds for the Paint CHQ program. It was a 4 mural program across Chautauqua County. We've completed 3 out of the 4, and in spring of 2026, we'll finish Dunkirk's site with our artists had some delays in getting here, and we'll be here in the spring. And Crystal, just passing around some before and afters. You know, Mark talks about this all the time, but quality of life is so important. We all know this, but ultimately, when you're thinking about attracting young professionals, families to your communities, people aren't just locating because a job is available anymore. It's quality of life, it's outdoor recreation, it's public art, it's all of those pieces coming together and playing an important part of attraction. You know, these projects were really based on that quality of life enhancement, downtown revitalization, facade improvements, improving our public art access, tourism attraction, and that placemaking kind of keyword. And we've been really talking about the importance of placemaking, but what does that really mean? It's really improvement projects that create unique feelings or specific destinations in your community that are unique to Chautauqua County, unique to our municipalities. You know, the 3 before and afters that I've passed out, Sherman's is a great example of kind of a placemaking project. You have our mural project, Route 76 as it goes into the highly trafficked. So you're seeing that mural right away as you come into the village. French Creek, the rails trailhead is on the back of that building. A whole new parking pavement improvement project was just completed there. The image in the after doesn't show the paved area yet, but it was just completed. And then the Long Route 76, complete streets and drainage project was just done. So you have all of these 3 projects really working together to create like this unique sense of place, a new destination through the rails to trails. And then you see that really great mural. You know, you got to think about social media as well, and those Instagram worthy moments attract people, yet the young people especially. So that's the goal. Westfield, very similar project. It's right on Portage Street as you're coming off the 90 to the village. You see that site clear as day, but it also goes hand in hand with the site next door, which is the amphitheater location that will be coming to the village. And it kind of tells a story, actually. It was the old Portage Inn site that the land bank acquired and demoed. So and then ultimately the county helped with funding some stairs down to the back part of the property where the Welch's Trail is. So it all plays into each other as this unique destination. Faulkner's Main Street, if you look at that before, that's probably one of the ugliest facades in the village. And as you're coming into the village along Main Street, you have that new welcome to the village of Faulkner sign. So such an impact that really is important to downtown revitalization. City of Dunkirk is going to be really, you know, a big change for Central Avenue as well. We thought about that site because when you're at the Dunkirk Pier and waterfront, which is a huge asset, you can see the building from the pier, from the waterfront. It attracts you up Main Street. Really, we want to revitalize Central Avenue as well. So those are kind of reasons behind the locations and the importance of a project like this.
Thank you. Very well done.
Yeah.
Is there any questions about this resolution to accept these grants? John Healy, can you move new business A1 for us?
Yes, resolution 10-28-25-07 of the members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation accepting various grants.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Amy. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney. Ted Whitman.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved, accepting these grants. Next, we need to,
Resolution.
okay, we have to do a resolution to accept the same policy for video conferencing that we did for the IDA. So that'll be resolution 10-28-25-01 of CREDC accepting this video conferencing policy that was presented earlier by Harris Beach.
It's probably 08, if the last one was 07.
Okay, you're right. It'd be 08.
No, I think she said it was the same.
This be the same resolution number, same resolution for each agency.
Yep, we could have almost not done it for each agency, but would just be.
Yep, okay,
So it'll be 01.
great.
One.
Okay, so for CRC, it's we.
Okay, correct.
Everybody familiar? Remember what we were talking about?
Yeah.
It was hours ago.
It's been a while. It's been a lot. We have I've made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it has been accepted. Do we have an executive director's report?
Can I just say one thing? Rebecca and her team did a great job on those murals. I just want to say that it was a fair amount of work and, I really think that, like Rebecca said, improving our main streets is key. And, it's one thing, right? If we can continue to do those things to create unique places, we're going to do, be far more successful in attracting people to our downtown. So thank you, Rebecca.
Mark.
I know we're running really late, but just to highlight that, there's other things that come about from doing things like these murals that we'll never know. As one example, the one in Faulkner happens to be right next to, my company. If you look at the mural closely, it actually has an old picture of Fancher on it. Well, one of my customers was in town and, there's a new place across the street for Snickety Pie. They stop, they get a cup of coffee on their way in. They're looking at the mural, how nice it is. They notice our company's there. So when they come over to our building, they're like, it's so impressive to see a company that's been around for hundreds of years. You're still involved with the community recognizes it. It goes a long ways to enticing these customers to come in and want to do business with us. That's never going to show up anyplace on paper. You can't make that direct correlation, but it does make a difference. People notice. So, I appreciate it as well. Thank you. How about the treasurer's report? Kayla or Shelby?
So I'll go through this real quick. If you see the CREDC board report starting with the P&L. CREDC, I'll just point out that CREDC is in the negative, the 2,000. This isn't unusual. I don't want to put it this way, if the IDA cash flow can float that from time to time when it is underwater. CPAG is also underwater, but that's mainly a type. There is like 30,000 plus it's a reimbursable grant for the CHQ project. We paid the expenses and now we just get reimbursed for it. So that washes away that negative balance. And Ralph Wilson and ARPA are spot on. We recognize as we go. So we'll flip to the balance sheet. CREDC does have a good cash flow in and of itself. So another reason why I'm not worried about being underwater slightly, which again, year upon year, it's not unusual. The only revenue we really get in the CREDC fund is when we do OCR grants. And we had a few of those being paid off as we're down with interest revenue coming in. So Again, that's not unusual. They've got a good cash flow balance coming in without considering any of the deferred revenue to offset that. And yeah, CPEG, Ralph Wilson, ARPA all have their deferred revenue earmarked for projects already. So we'll go on to the budget year to date. And Shelby had already pointed out that the payroll and benefits, we are under budget on that, which she had pointed out the save on the CREDC side as opposed to the IDA. And also I did want to point out, even with CREDC and CPEG being in the negative, we're still doing better than what we originally projected for the year when we did the budget last year.
So it's expected for those funds to be, you know, upside down a little bit. And another piece of it is, you know, now we're allocating actual overhead expenses, especially when it comes to salaries. So we're booking those in the correct funds. Whereas historically, you know, all of the fringe benefits, all of that stuff just stayed in the IDA. So it's just a matter of actually recognizing the actual expense incurred per fund, rather than just having it all sit in the IDA.
That's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
I'll dive right into the budget and I'll be quick. Most items I already discussed in the IDA when we were going over the IDA budget. That's after the loan balance packet in the finance section. So this first tab, again, I just included it here so that you could look in total. When you include the IDA and the loan funds, it kind of offsets that loss for CREDC and CPEG. And again, it'll net to about 40,000. So, you know, if you look at a cash perspective, we should hopefully potentially have an extra 40,000 in the bank based on, you know, timing and expenses. Again, we're basically expecting to recognize all of the grant income that's kind of in the pipeline and the corresponding expense. Is that going to happen? Likely no. It'll probably roll into next year like it typically does. If you were to look at this last page in this budget packet, you'll see the different fund codes. And you'll see that first line is the deferred revenue projected. That's what is sitting in cash at the end of the year. It's expected to be sitting in cash at the end of the year. And then we recognize it going into 2026 and also recognize the corresponding corresponding expense. And then when you see grant income in the revenue section underneath that, that's like new grant income that would come in 2026. And again, we're expecting to recognize all of that. It probably would roll into 2027 like we see here for 2026. And then again, same thing with the payroll, professional fees and publicity and promotion. That's kind of where the majority of the grant contractual. That's the majority of the buckets that you'll see the grant income kind of offset in those expense lines. I believe, the one last thing in grant contractual for CREDC, you will see $100,000 and then you'll also see $100,000 in CPEG for other revenue. That is another one of those eliminations where we are expecting CREDC to kind of fund CPEG for specific projects. So we recognize that expense for CREDC and the income for CPEG, but when you look at it combined, that'll be an eliminating entry, so you won't see that. I think that's all I have.
You're doing a great job. We've definitely made it more complicated with all the grants but I think we're doing it right now. Yeah.
Got a handle on it.
Yep.
In fairness, I asked you to stop getting all these grants years ago.
Went from the airport to grants.
Do we have a motion to accept the CREDC budget for 2026?
Motion.
Do we have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The budget is accepted. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Thank you, Kevin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ted. All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The treasurer's report is accepted as well. Anything else to come before CREDC? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Next, we'll move right into the Board of Directors meeting for the Capital Resource Corporation. We're still at the BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, and streaming live on YouTube. It's October the 28th, and it's currently 12:35. You should have already, well, we'll do roll call first. Gary Henry's here, Amy Harding.
Here.
John Healy.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Ted Whitman.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
Thank you. You should have already received the minutes from March the 25th, 2025, and had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
To accept them.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Tom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been accepted. For new business, we're going to approve the same video conferencing policy. It's resolution 10-28-25-01 for the CRC to approve this video conference policy pursuant to section 103A of the New York Public Officers Law and adopting a policy in connection therewith. Do we have a motion to accept that?
I would make the motion to accept it.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It has been accepted. Next, we'll move right into the treasurer's report.
So we don't have any activity, obviously for 2025. Really, the only activity would be administrative, filing reports, all that stuff. We don't get into the nitty gritty that much to charge my salary, Kayla's salary, to the entity. We basically just file all zeros and then like bond balances. So we are expecting for 2026, basically the same thing, all zeros as far as revenue and expense. I meant to have a printout of the Paris report included, but it looks like it was not included. It wasn't printed, but it should have been in the electronic documents. It's just all zeros. So it was just a printout of what it's going to look like in Paris, kind of mimics the CREDC report, but all of the zeros. So that's what we're planning for 2026.
We might have that county bond. 126
Well,
or the Ripley site, but I'll just bring that up. I don't know.
but we would recognize that in the IDA, because that would be an IDA expense. So these are, CRC would be external bonds with clients.
Okay.
That's included in the IDA.
I did. Okay.
Yeah, yep, the interest expense is included in the IDA budget.
The CRC was formed because IDAs are not allowed to do civic facility projects. So if you had a hospital, WCA, or any other not-for-profit, the IDA couldn't help, especially by issuing bonds. So the CRC is sort of there to do that. So, are you going to have a not-for-profit bond deal next year? I think we're assuming the answer is no, but you still need to have it active and available if you do want to.
Right.
Do we have a motion to accept the CRC budget for 2026?
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the 2026 budget is approved. Anything else for CRC? Okay, we'll consider the meeting adjourned, and I really appreciate everybody hanging in there for a long meeting.
Starting the CRC.
Yeah.
Building.
They haven't left.
4 years.
Yeah, and I think is gonna do that and then bring them up.
Okay.
And ask for them here to get.
Okay.
And get.
Please do. I was-
Build it again.
How do you feel following out there? You want me to get you a sandwich?
Well deserved.
I'm right there.
I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't anything. Just,
Italian or Italian?
Italian.
Thank you.
Yeah, with spicy dill chips.
Spicy. She's a spicy girl.
Spicy, spicy.
Woman, lady.
Hey, PJ. Around or what?
I'm gonna grab some.
Another meeting.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Better.
Well, Mark, he must be coming back. He left his phones. Aren't these PJ's phones?
What's that? Oh, yeah, I think he is coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I didn't see you way down here. How are you?
I didn't see Ted, I didn't see. Somehow I missed people when I arrived, so I'm cool.
Welcome down to the south part of the county.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Jeanette.
You're welcome.
Okay, you're about, you start with this and I'll grab your salad.
Oh, you
Yeah.
are a,
And I'll have another honey too.
thank you.
Yep. That's the one you wanted, the chips, right?
Yep.